everyone. July 21st, 2025. Call the meeting to order at 5 o'clock exactly. I now entertain a motion to adopt the minutes of July 7th, 2025.
I so moved.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding those minutes? Hearing none, may we vote, please?
Been moved and seconded to adopt the minutes of July 7, 2025 as presented. Ms. Moyer?
Yes.
Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
Mr. Mosher?
Yes.
Minutes are adopted.
I will now entertain a motion to approve payment of bills in the amount of $31,826.82, broken down: general fund, $1,612.39, cemetery fund, $2,564 even, fire fund, $24,347.76, road fund, $3,302.67. Is there a motion?
I move that we pay the bills.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we vote, please?
Been moved and seconded to approve payment of bills in the amount of $31,826.82 as enumerated. Ms. Moyer?
Yes.
Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
Mr. Mosher?
Yes.
Motion's approved.
Any correspondence in or out of note?
No.
Before we move to public addition to the agenda, we have a visitor this evening that I am so happy to invite her to join us. Linda,
You want to hear from me now?
the floor is yours.
Okay, all I have to say is Yellow Spring Senior Center, which serves both the village and township elders, is making a request for a replacement battery and pads for their defibrillator that is in their facility. Now, it's still technically property of the Miami Township Fire Department, but the cost of the battery and the pads, all total, is going to be $515. And what they'd like the township to do is ask the fire department to order another battery and pay for it, thereby saving them some money, and have it reinstalled. I spoke with Nathaniel, and he said he could order it on the 29th when he returned. And that's all. They would just simply like to have the trustees help them out on this. Any questions?
Absolutely.
I contacted our former chief, Colin Altman, and asked, what in the world is this about? And he said, yes, we placed AEDs, which is a defibrillator, at the senior center, Tom's, and a few other places that I don't remember at the moment. We were responsible to check them monthly or so, and to replace batteries and pads as needed. However, more than likely, the units are now no longer supported by the manufacturer as they're several years old. Someone from MTFR can verify that. Anyway, he's confirming what she said, but then he also wonders about how old are they.
Okay, Nathaniel looked into this, and they are still available, and they are still supported.
Yeah, I took a picture, I stopped by there, took a picture of the back of the battery. I think I sent it to you.
Yeah.
Back, and I thought it said 2021.
That was the original date that they were put in.
It doesn't seem old, but I don't know in the life of
But,
the defibrillator.
Yeah,
Nathaniel looked down
seems
the
like
right.
they're all starting to go dead at the same time.
I'm sorry.
Seems like they're all starting to expire and start to beep at the same time. We've had another facility tell us
Yeah.
Who was that other facility?
I stopped by Tom's Market and,
Okay.
and asked them, they said, oh yeah, it was there till last month, we
I
took it
brought the
down.
machine or the device in and he checked it and thought it was just the battery, but that's the extent
They
of
look
my
nice.
knowledge about this thing.
Yeah, I think Tom's, I hope they still have it. They put it in the back room, they didn't know who gave it to them.
Okay.
And a new owner took over since we put them in. He said it was just beeping, so he took it down. I have his email, I was gonna check with him, so.
Yeah, I wasn't aware we owned them.
Yeah, it seems like we should find out how many we've placed and check them all out and make a decision of what our commitment to this continued program is.
Yeah, the new units, they're Life Pack CR2s, all inclusive of battery pads and everything, will cost $1,411.
For a brand new one?
Yes,
And just, again, just battery and pads, you said.
just the battery and pads. The battery is $327 and the pads are $188.
No, the battery pads replacement would be $515.
Yeah, but
You're
I'm
saying
breaking it,
The new ones are all one big
they're
jump.
all inclusive, but it's roughly $900+ more per unit.
So 1411.
And I would assume the new ones, batteries are gonna last a lot longer.
I,
Did they have-
that,
Yeah, we
did they
have
that's
say-
to-
beyond my job
conversation,
skill.
What's that?
Like the battery technology might have really
Yeah,
increased
yeah.
over the last 5 years.
I do know that for sure.
So,
I didn't realize
Well,
they.
One question is, have these been used?
Mercifully, the one at the senior center has not needed to be used. But it just takes once, not bad, you know.
so if, God forbid, somebody would, you would need it.
Yes.
When I was in there, I wondered if I was a citizen at a meeting there, would I feel like I had would I feel confident enough to run over there and think that I was the person who should pull that defibrillator out? How do,
Well-
you know, Chief, how do people know that?
They go to a class, but the dispatcher will also walk you through it.
Okay.
And they're pretty simple, and they're pretty self-explanatory to put on. And, if you're so willing, the dispatcher will walk you through it, and you hit the button, and it tells you everything you do.
You know, when we took it apart, there's instructions in the unit also. So again, it's a question of, are you gonna save the life or what?
Well, I recall when we initially distributed these, this was at the request of the fire department, a suggestion to us, at the request from the fire department, not from any member of the public. And the point being, he felt this was a gesture for the safety of the community, and, it's hard to say, no, we don't want, we don't want to have something that would save somebody's life. And the board was fully in favor of installing these. And I personally would be in favor of
Yeah,
recommissioning this one and checking on the other ones. As I mentioned, I think in a message to you, Chief, that I don't have records of where they are. I mean, we know where a couple of them are. I think there's one in each school. I don't know that for sure.
I think that's what Nathaniel may have said.
In the library as well.
Yes.
And the question is, who has gotten them on their own? And I think they're required in schools or highly recommended, so the schools may have gotten their own versus which ones are owned that we purchased for various businesses.
I know there's other ones around town that we didn't put in.
Okay.
Anthrotech has one, it came to mind.
Wellness center.
In the wellness
Might-
center.
Might be, I don't know.
I don't think we put it in the wellness center because I think we put it in before the wellness center was open, maybe. 2021, that doesn't seem very long.
No, it doesn't.
Is that when it expired or that's when it was installed or manufactured?
What okay, here is what Carolyn said. So far, we have not had a need for it. I am uncertain when and how it was purchased. It has been here when I joined the staff in June of 2021.
Mhm.
So it may have been there longer.
Mhm. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, the need is there.
I'd be inclined to go with your recommendation of whether it needs replacing or if it's just a battery.
I think we should,
Yeah, I'd like to do a little bit more research on it if that's okay.
I agree.
That way I'll try my best to get you the numbers and, research if it's feasible to buy a new one versus, put half the money or 1/3 of the money into batteries.
Yeah,
If it's just gonna, be another 3 years
right.
versus, how many years, but battery technology has come a long way.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of more research and make a decision a couple weeks from now. And also about the funding of it and if we feel like we have.
Yeah, there could be a possibility of maybe a little bit more by a charger, and then when it beeps, put it in the charger, it, lasts another 6 months to a year, I don't know, so.
Also, reactivating whatever policy for checking on them. But as Colin
Yeah,
said,
yeah, and I
if we were
know,
gonna go,
I know there's not a fire
Inspect them.
department out there that
And then-
checks them weekly.
then just some, maybe not training, but orientation to,
Well, Nathaniel mentioned that there were classes available that could be taught by the fire department. He said there would be a capacity perhaps of 6 to 8 people and it'd run like roughly $50. Does that ring a bell with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Laurie, did you have a question?
No, I was gonna suggest that you're doing further study and doing a report of some kind on all these questions, like have it down as a written policy so everybody knows where they are, knows
Yeah.
what's going on, and you've got it
And we
documented.
should have a good database. Normally, we do fire inspections on commercial occupancies. Every fire department does that once a year.
Right,
And now there's a checkbox on the inspection form that says, do they have an AED or don't they? And then it gives us a database on who has them and who doesn't have them.
Right,
And it also tells us on our computers in our truck, when the dispatch happens, the dispatcher knows if there's an AED, so they can tell somebody that calls 911, we show that there's an AED on the premises, go obtain that near the entrance or wherever.
right.
And then they can walk that person through the process. So yeah, they're very beneficial.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
No,
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
Thank you.
that's where we'll go.
that is, we're going to wait, get more information before further action.
Okay. Brian, I see your name up here in lights.
And lights. That's
We
fancy.
will begin a public hearing at 5:15 regarding 2 text amendments being presented to us from the zoning commission. And our zoning administrator will walk us through them.
Okay, thank you very much, trustees. The first one is tax amendment 2025005T, which is our new section 503, which is fences, walls, and screenings. The intent of this text amendment is to add a section related to fences, walls, and screenings, obviously. Our current resolution does not address fences, walls, and screenings in any district with the exception of fencing around swimming pools and salvage yards are currently in our resolution. Okay, so to the zoning commission sent this text amendment to regional planning on May 25th. They received regional planning's approval letter on June 25th, held a public hearing on July 3rd, and voted to forward this text amendment to you trustees for approval. All right, in the packet, and this is going to be standard every time, but until we're in a rhythm of doing this, I'll continue to read this part. The proposed text amendment is in your packet, trustees. The full commission, the regional planning full commission recommendation letter is there. The letter from the zoning commission recommending that you add this text amendment, and then a proposed trustee resolution if you choose to use it. You just need to add the number at the top. Okay, and just like before, black text that I'll show you is in the current resolution, which you'll find isn't anything but the heading. And green text is what the zoning commission added as new verbiage. And then the purple text are suggestions from regional planning, and I'll try to incorporate that at the same time. So this. Okay, so again, black, all it's going to be is the heading in our current resolution right now. Can you see all right?
Purple is RPCC, right?
Yes, yes. So, and I'll explain how this is lined out here in a second. So, the heading itself, you see where it says 503, fences, walls, and screenings. The location and height of all fences, walls, and vegetation screening shall be in accordance with the following provisions. So the first one you'll see is lined out because that was what the zoning commission had originally when we sent it to regional planning. And then regional planning had this suggestion, so the zoning commission changed it to this. So that's what I left them both in there, so it was less confusing of. Anyways, that's how I wrote it. Does that make sense to all of you, as long as the three of you understand that? Okay, so I'm not going to read the very first one, but the second one is the new 503.1 if adopted. The following regulations will not be applied to the construction and maintenance of agricultural, partition fences, and livestock that are otherwise covered under the authority of Chapter 971 of the ORC. So basically, if it's for agricultural purposes, you follow Chapter 971. It has nothing to do with zoning in a township. So that's the reason they wanted that wording changed from what we had originally said. We're saying the same thing, but they're basically saying you're not authorized to say it, so say it this way. Okay. The second point is point 2. Fences, walls, or vegetation screening within any front yard shall be outside of the right-of-way and shall not interfere with the visibility from driveways or the drainage of roadside ditches. That was kind of self-explanatory. It just wasn't annotated in there before. You can't build it in the right-of-way. Point 3, no fence, wall, or vegetation screening shall be erected, placed, planted, or allowed to grow on any corner lot so as to create a site impediment within 75 feet of the intersection center lines. It's going to get real technical, but the diagram will help explain it. 75 feet from the intersecting center lines of any 2 or more streets. In determining if site impediments exist, the zoning administrator shall measure the site distance between center lines of such streets at a height of 3 feet 9 inches. I did not come up with that. It was a term that a lot of people use, but it's basically the line of sight of where you would see out of a vehicle. Maximum above the actual grade of the streets, and see illustration. So the illustration is going to help you probably more than the words. But basically what this is saying, and the reason we put this in there is so that no one builds the vegetation screening or a wall that impedes traffic so that you can see, so when they pull out and be hit by somebody at an intersection. So the only time this would come into effect is if this is seen by me or seen by anyone that's brought to my attention that I could actually go out to the center and mark off 75 feet to determine if they're in violation or not. I don't find this happening a lot, but at least we have something down there where if somebody complained and said, hey, they just built this fence and now I can't see around the corner. This is our standard that we would go by as a town. Okay. Point 4. All fences must be maintained in good repair. Fences that are falling require external supports or create a health or safety issue must be replaced, repaired, or removed. Point 5. And please, if any of the as trustees, if anyone has just holler if you want me to clarify anything.
You mean even if somebody's backyard way back behind there, they gotta maintain, I mean, obviously, nobody will know if it's falling down.
Well, it comes down to what it is we're allowed to do in the zoning world, which is health, safety, and welfare of the township. So if that is a complaint, then it needs to be investigated and we can look into it and see if they're an actual violation of the resolution or not. That's kind of what it comes down to. I mean, there are rules and then it's
Yeah.
so at some point somebody has to look at it and make a determination whether it's a violation or not. All right, point 5 is if the fence has one side where posts are exposed and one side where posts are concealed, either part or fully by fence slats, then the side on which the posts are concealed shall face outward towards the nearest property line, commonly referred to as the good neighbor rule. So if you're building a fence, make the better looking side towards your neighbor. And think of this more like residential areas usually. All right, then these are in purple because they were changes that were referred by regional planning to, first two I think were additions they wanted us to add. So on point 6 is in residential districts, no fence or wall within any yard may exceed 8 feet in height, measured from the existing grade to the highest point. Now 8 feet is pretty tall. The standard usually is around 6 feet because that's what you can usually buy, 5 or 6 foot fences, so think residential. Zoning Commission, regional plan did ask for that to be added, like to consider it, because we hadn't considered that. So we picked they picked something that was a little bit higher than the normal standard, so as long as it's under 8 feet, that's what they came up with. Point 7, in business and industrial districts with no fence or wall may exceed 12 feet in height, measured from the existing grade to the highest point. Again, usually in these is 10 feet is usually the standard for business and industrial, but we extended it up to 12. And that's just your max. It doesn't have to be that, obviously. We don't want it to be higher than that. Point 8, requirements for fencing around swimming pools can be found in section 506. That was added because regional planning said, well, what about swimming pools? So we put a point in there to make it easier for someone that might want to put a pool in and they look at the fencing section and says, oh, I need to go to this other place to find out about swimming pools. That's why that was added. I put this one in here and I lined through it, and there's a reason for that. This was recommended by regional planning, and I wrote it how they recommended. The zoning commission decided not to add this from regional planning's recommendation, so I'll read it. Barbed wire and electrical fences shall be prohibited within a residential district. Residential lots used for maintaining livestock or any agricultural use shall be exempt from this requirement. That is something that, like I said, regional planning thought, that's kind of a standard. Maybe you should have this for residential areas for those that are a little bit more dangerous. The zoning commission decided not to add that, but I put it in here so that you guys have all the information in front of you. Then the other thing was changing the definition in the definition section of fence. We changed it to be a little bit more clear, and it's a barrier that wholly or partly screens from view, encloses or divides a yard or other land, or marks a boundary between adjoining lands and is self-supporting. And then we did not clearly define right-of-way, so we will list it now in the future as a strip of land purchased or dedicated for use as a public way. In addition to the roadway, it normally incorporates curbs, lawn strips, sidewalks, lighting, drainage facilities, and may include special features required by topography or treatment, such as grade separation, landscaped areas, viaducts, and bridges. Where the right-of-way is not defined by the state, county, or township for any parcel, the right-of-way is assumed to be 25 feet from the center line of the street. Okay. Any questions about that, trustees? Yes.
This about right-of-way kind of surprises me, because usually when I look at property maps, it's pretty clear how wide is the road or highway right-of-way.
What's your question? I'm sorry. Maybe I
I
don't
just-
understand. You're surprised why we put that definition, or
Yeah,
I don't like the wording of it?
I would like to, I don't remember seeing a map where there wasn't a right-of-way line.
Well, I can tell you that our township listed it as 25 feet. State roads and county roads can vary. Even according to both of those websites, like the county and the state. Sometimes it's stated and sometimes it's not stated. So you'd have to ask for a specific area, what it is for this area. So if somebody was to put up a fence or wanted to put up a fence and we thought it might fall within that right of way, then I would need to contact whoever it is. But again, if it's not posted, we assume the 25 feet because that usually gives you enough.
I know the county engineer determines right of way from telephone pole on one side to telephone pole on the other side. That's her new definition, or her definition of it. Now, in the old days,
Yeah.
where there was a lot more agriculture, right of way was from the fence
Yeah.
of the property, to the street, whatever distance that was. And I know from building a fence on our Glencore Cemetery on the east side, that the state right of way is 60 feet off center.
It depends on what the road is. There are certain ones like highways, interstates have different ones. Yes, yeah.
But,
Because it's not clear cut, is what I'm trying to
yeah.
say. I would imagine the use of telephone poles as a general marker is probably because they figured out what the right of way was and that's where they allowed the telephone poles to go in. But it is technically, I don't think there's another way to do it, but I think it's always the center of the road out. Which you already know, like from any center of any road, it's gonna be at least 10 feet. Because that's usually what line to line is, 10
Yeah.
feet, maybe 12, 13 if it has a little shoulder. So we're only talking about the right of way in the grass part, maybe 8 feet.
Yeah.
Not wanting a fence right up to that road.
And as a public service announcement in information for any political candidates that may be running this fall, the county engineer will, that's not shall, not may, but will remove any political signs in the county's right of way.
Yes.
Yes. they
In the
will.
route, in the right of way, yes.
So that's telephone pole to telephone pole, because that's the way she determines it.
But along county roads, not along county borders,
Right, county roads,
which are,
It is,
which are not township or state, anything left.
yeah, we have the ability as a township to remove them if they are in the right of way. Be it me by position or by Dan by position to remove it if it's in the right of way.
Right. We generally don't enforce that, but we do have the ability, sure.
Yeah.
But she will enforce it as well, what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I mean, yes, I agree with that. There's some things to look at with our signage, but yes. Here is the letter. I didn't do this last time, so I apologize, but I have it ready. So these were the ones that were the zoning commission, I forgot my pointer, I apologize. But the second line down, it says the full commission voted to recommend, and it has those 4 bullet points. Those were their comments. I just want to point them out and show you where they were in there. So the height parameters to be included for residential and commercial areas, which we did add that, the heights. The distinction between allowable fences, commercial versus residential, that's where that barbed wire electric fences in residential, that's usually the bigger one. That's one of the recommendations which the commission decided not to do, which they don't have to. It's really up to you as the board of trustees. Consider additional design requirements, which was done. And then the removal of the word shall, we removed that word shall in that first bullet point, if you remember that. That was the one that was lined out, right there. So we did change it to what they recommended, point 1. So that's the staff presentation part. If you want to open this up for public hearing piece, Chair, that's up to you, unless you have any other questions.
Board, any questions about this First Amendment? Public, any questions about this First Amendment? Mr. Stockwell?
Oh, well, when this goes into effect, presumably, there may be an occasional person or property that doesn't actually abide or does not already abide by these. Will that property need to, what should we say, come up to the status, or will they be grandfathered in with, even if they say, well, that tree's been there for 20 years and I don't want it cut down, even if you can't see around the front. I'm just asking, when these go into effect, will it be retrospective as well? if somebody says, oh, I've had that fence there for 20 years, I don't want you to change it?
We don't have the capability of the authority to do that retroactively. The grandfather provision is pretty much across zoning.
Any, if I can pick it up on that, please. Anything that you have, if the regulation changes, if zoning changes, and what you did, you lawfully put up at the time is considered non-conforming, but it's legally non-conforming, which means you're not conforming to the new rule, but you don't have to. So you're legally non-conforming, but it's okay to do that. It would be very unfair, especially with buildings. You can't ask someone to, oh, move that garage 10 feet because we changed the rules on it. Yeah. Now, when it comes to an individual tree, that might be a health and wellness safety issue that, if it's brought to my attention, that could be brought to the trustees to deem that a nuisance or something, or in violation of public safety. That could be addressed. Vegetation screening is typically like arborvitaes that are put in a row to, so hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am?
I'll leave it up to you, Chris, to pick on people. I'll just answer questions when it's appropriate.
The one that the board rejected was about barbed wire and that, what was the thinking of the zoning?
Of the zoning commission, hasn't been a problem in the past, and why add that regulation into
Right,
it?
if it ain't broke.
I mean, and that's the overall version, like sometimes the board may disagree
Of
with
course,
it
of
there, or
course,
I may
yeah.
disagree with it.
I wanted to just.
So the overall, by majority, was it's not needed.
Ms. Parsons?
Yes, you mentioned political signs. What about signs for festivals, upcoming events? Are those also not to be on the right of way anymore?
I'm not gonna speak for the county and the state, but technically you should not have anything in the right of way.
Okay,
It's for emergency vehicles to pass, it's for mowing to happen, that's the establishment of what a right of way is for.
okay. Thank you.
Is it going to happen? Of course, they're always put where it's most visible, and
But ideally, just tell people, don't
Yes.
put things
When
like
it comes to
signs for your
signs, yeah.
festival on a right of way.
yeah, nothing should be in the right of way.
Okay, thank you.
That's, then we address things how we address things, yes.
Any other questions or comments?
Hmm?
I just wanted to,
That's
that's all for the question. Well, let's do the second one, and we'll do the resolutions.
I know you're gonna do that, I don't have it read, but give me 1 second, I'll take 1 minute.
While he's doing that, I would note here on the agenda, I managed to get the numbers on these text amendments completely wrong. The agenda reads 502, this is in fact 503. The second one reads 508, the 503, and it's actually 508. Apologies.
I apologize to everyone. What's that?
Apology unnecessary and not accepted.
Fair enough. Can blame it on I have my other job to go to, but I don't use that one. Okay. Staff report, I apologize. Okay. Staff report is up on the board. You also have it in front of you. This is 2025006T. The section is 508, which is a new section that we're adding, proposed to be adding. It's our agricultural use, agricultural service establishment, and agritourism. This text amendment, the intent of this text amendment is to add a section where these agricultural topics could be found in one area of the resolution. Our current resolution addresses these topics generally in the definition sections only. So this shouldn't be I don't believe there's anything that's new in this, but it's mainly to put it in one place so that it's easy to find. All right, again, these are requirements, so I'll read these off. The zoning commission sent this text amendment to regional planning on June 5th, received an approval letter back on June 25th, held a public hearing on July 3rd, and voted to forward this to you trustees for approval. In your packet is the same 4 items. And the same with the verbiage with text, the same colors apply. So, back section 508 was all that's existing, just a placeholder prior to this. So this is agricultural uses, agricultural service establishments, and agritourism. The intent of this section is to explain agricultural uses and to define the requirements of an agricultural service establishment and agritourism activity. So that's the intent of adding this to the resolution. Each one should have an intent. Each heading should have that. Because you don't just put things in your resolution to put them in there. You should always have your intent of why you're putting it in. Okay, so the first one is agricultural use, which is point 2, agricultural use. Agriculture as defined by ORC 519.01 and in Article 2 of our resolution. Part B, the township zoning shall not require or require a permit for any agriculturally exempt structures that are permitted in an agricultural district, such as but not limited to a hay barn, chicken coop, silos, eggs for sale stand. In C, township zoning shall require non-exempt structures in an agricultural district, such as but not limited to a single-family dwelling, a detached garage for non-agricultural items, or like in a gazebo, are subject to zoning regulations to include the requirement of a permit issued by the zoning office. The reason all of those words are in there is just so that people understand. There was kind of a general thought process with our zoning commission. I would assume some residents that where agriculture, it's fine. Well, you still have to get a permit for your home, because that's not agriculture, that's a place you're living, that's your dwelling. So I thought it was good to put these in here so that we had a clearly defined. Use it for agriculture, you don't need a permit, and we can't regulate if you're using it for non-agriculture, even though you're an agricultural district, you still have to do a permit for particular items. So that's pretty simple. Section 508.3 is agricultural service establishments. An agricultural service establishment is a business engaged in the support of agriculture or horticultural activities, including but not limited to feed, seed and fertilizer sales, tile services, landscaping, greenhouse, farm equipment, service or repair, or animal processing, must adhere to the following provisions. You will see this a lot in any type of uses in anything that we do in the resolution. Because generally zoning, when it comes to a use, we can regulate things such as height, ingress, egress, parking. Those are kind of the things. So you'll see this kind of standard thing in a lot of uses. So a lot of this is kind of cut and paste. But A is that they have to submit a floor plan of the retail structure. So this is, I think, a great example. We don't have one of these now in our township, but there is one in Cedarville Township, just south of us. Something's Feed Barn. It's on Ken's. Thank you. That's a great example of a service establishment. An agricultural service establishment. So it's retail operations because they can sell things, but it's not a business. You're not allowed to do business in an agricultural district, right? You have business districts for that. So this allows retail type operations in support of agriculture, which was defined in ours anyways. But that's why these steps are here: to submit a floor plan, provide a parking plan for retail activities. C is provide ingress, egress, via points. I'm not going to read all of it. Is that okay? To kind of skim through that part. Submit a plan for signage, if that's applicable, and provide hours of operation for retail activities. So it's just a little clearly defined. Before it was just the definition. That's why this is in this section. Nothing too earth-shattering. We'll get to earth-shattering things in a few months. All right, point 4, agritourism. Again, nothing has changed in here. It's just more clearly defined. Agritourism is defined as an agriculture-related use for educational, entertainment, historical, cultural, or recreational activities conducted on a farm that allows or invites members of the public, invites members of the general public to observe, participate, and enjoy that activity. That is a definition straight from the ORC. B, examples of agritourism include, but are not limited to, you pick berry or flower field, farm market, farm hay rides, corn maze, petting zoo, dairy cheese making classes, or learning beekeeping operations. We're trying to implement examples of things because, again, another reason we're trying to make the resolution more family friendly more residential friendly, so people can read it, is to kind of give people examples of like, oh, well, that does apply to me because of this, or that. All right, C is agritourism provider must apply for a permit from the zoning office and meet the following requirements. Again, these are the standard ones. Provide evidence that the property on which the agritourism operation is proposed meets the definition of a farm, because that's in the definition, you have to be a farm to begin with. Specifically describe the educational, entertainment, historical, cultural, or recreational relationship of agritourism operations to the existing agricultural use of the property and the surrounding agriculture community in general. Submit a floor plan, I'm going to highlight these. Provide a parking plan, ingress, egress, and submit a plan for signage through Article 7 if applicable. All right.
And last one you had, submit hours of operation too, that's not something.
I don't, yeah, you're right, that's a good point. I don't, I mean, that's typically in there. That probably could have went in there. It's gonna be asked for anyways because it is on the permit. That is a good catch, but I know it's caught. I don't think it takes away from our intent. I don't believe anyone would be like, I'm not gonna give you my hours of operation because you didn't ask for it, but I know what you're saying. I have to reread this because it's been a while for this one, but regional planning recommendation to move 508.4 to the definition sections. The zoning commission believes it should be in this section for clarity of residents. So what regional planning said was you could take this whole, I'm gonna go up on the screen. You could have taken this whole agritourism and left it in definitions. But we laid it out a little bit better so that it's more clearly defined. So that was something that even the regional planning was just like, you don't have to, it could have stayed right there. The zoning commission agreed with my opinion as well, that we wanted it to be in here so that people understood better. So, but I did put it in here because regional planning asked for that. But I just put the note in here. That would not be in the resolution, of course. That purple will be lined out. Okay, just so you understand. And then regional planning also had a recommendation to redefine how we had farm listed. Their intent of that, and after talking to another resident actually on Friday, is something that I think that we may look into, but for right now, the definition that we have of farm, I think is self-sufficient, which is must be at least 10 acres or have $2,500 of gross income annually. And that definition loosely comes from the CAUV, which is a tax thing that isn't really directly related to zoning. The reason regional planning thought we might want to look at redefining that is not making it more stringent or more difficult for someone to do agritourism. But I feel that this resolution could, this amendment could still happen, and we could relook at that definition at a later time. Because we couldn't just stick it in when you do your public hearing, we'd have to start from the beginning. So, the only other changes we did was in definitions of agriculture. This is going to be a bit confusing, but so when you do definitions, there is two schools of thought. You can either reference the ORC and just say, hey, agriculture is defined in the ORC in this number. You go look it up yourself. The con to that is you're making residents go to another document to learn something, okay? The pro to that is that if the ORC ever changes, you're always going to be right in your resolution. But the problem is everything that we do has a definition in the ORC, usually because there's not a lot we are allowed to do without the ORC. So there was kind of a bit of back and forth. Regional planning said all you have to do is say it's defined in the ORC, and that area in green is the full version of it. So what the zoning commission decided to do, instead of doing their recommendation, was to leave it in there and define it. So that's what we're going to stick with. Seems a little redundant, but we're getting the best of both worlds, if that makes sense. Agritourism provider was not listed as a definition before, but since we used it as a word, we needed to define what that is. And it comes from the ORC, but a person who owns, operates, provides or sponsors an agritourism activity, or an employee of such a person who engages in or provides agritourism activities, whether or not for a fee. And then we did change one word, and again, this is all black because it's already existing in our definitions. We did change the word butcher shop to just animal processing. It seemed to be a more inclusive word for farm operations, but. So that is the text amendment in full. Seems like a lot of words. It doesn't really include a whole lot. And not wholesale changes or anything like that. This is the letter which you have in front of you from regional planning. Remove the word means in the agritourism. Okay, we took care of that. Remove the added definition of agriculture, just reference the ORC. That's the one they decided not to do it exactly how they said to. Move 508.4 to the definition section. We decided not to do that because we wanted it to be in there. And then the whole concept of defining the farm, and it gets really lengthy, but basically they're saying don't make it too stringent where they, you're trying to discourage people. And then modify the wording, which we did. It's to provide, it's really the word provide egress to the locations, which we did add. Right there. It's just adding those words to that section. So, hope that wasn't too confusing and too much to mention at one time. That's that text amendment, if you want to open it up for public.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Agritourism is an ongoing struggle in the defining, and I may be out of date, but in our proposed wording of examples of agritourism activity, I would like to take out farm hay rides, corn maze, and petting zoo. There are reasons that you could argue those are legitimate, but I wouldn't add them as definitely legitimate.
We'll highlight on the board what you're talking about for everyone.
That is, to me, the edge of agri-recreation isn't necessarily
Would you like me to address it, or do you guys want to talk about it amongst yourselves? I'm just trying to figure out my role in this out.
I'm fine the way it is, so.
I am also fine the way it is.
I mean, those are common, typical agritourism. I mean, wedding venues not in there, for sure. I think that the agritourism itself is a pretty simple context, a pretty simple concept, excuse me. It's where people try to do different things and try to make it agritourism that really causes the conflicts. But a petting zoo, I mean, I would look at that as somebody that's raising the animals and also would like a little bit more income, so they set up a way to.
We don't say that.
Have a, well, that's what you interpret when you interpret a permit to decide.
But when you just say a petting zoo is allowed, then you could have a petting zoo even though those animals in no other way are related to your farm.
Sure, but if that,
And I could argue,
yeah.
no, I'm allowed to have a petting zoo. It doesn't matter, the rest of my farm was all corn and beans. So why?
I see where you're coming from. I don't think I necessarily agree, but I don't know if I can explain it a different way. I would caution somebody that is bringing something like that if it's not related to the actual farm itself. Yes.
That's my point.
I think you can do
When
these
we
activities
list it
in a farm.
as a specific activity,
Sure.
that makes it, someone could come in and say, look, I have a going farm and I'd like to add a corn maze. I don't grow corn, but I'd like to have a corn maze.
And I would say, go for it.
It's related to agriculture, and the property meets the definitions that it's agritourism.
Well, the thing is, I'm against more traffic and more
No, I understand.
tourist activities that have nothing to do with the production. But it doesn't sound like my colleagues agree.
Please.
Ms. Parsons?
Well, before you belabor the petting zoo aspect of this, you may want to check with your state humane laws. In many states, they have made petting zoos illegal. So it may just be a moot point.
Yeah, I mean, we only go from the use of the land.
Yeah.
It's just like if, do you have permission to build a home? Yes, you have a permission to build it where you say you're gonna build it, but still somebody else has a governing body to say like your walls have to be this thick, they have to be. So we're giving the permission for the use on the land, but they would still have to go to the health department to get cleared. You know what I mean? You still have to apply for taxes if you have retail operations. We're just specifically looking at the use of the land, but I understand your point.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments?
Under the 508.4A, it does very clearly say entertainment. And I would think that the hay rides, corn maze, and petting zoo are what actually falls under entertainment.
I think it falls under, and I know where you're coming from.
You're right, but this is one of this pitch battle happens every year at our township conference and at Farm Bureau conferences.
Can I ask what the, just for historical context, what the budding, or what the, is the fear is that folks will buy up agricultural land and not use them for agricultural purposes under sort of agritourism allowances? Is that?
No, they have to be, in order to even do agritourism, you already have to be an operating farm.
Gotcha,
You can't just buy land and set up, youngsters dairy.
gotcha. So the fear is that it would drive more traffic to what is supposed to be maybe a rural area? Is that, I'm just wanting to understand your specific perspective.
Traffic is a big part of it.
Is Agraria agritourism?
They were given an agritourism permit this spring, early spring. Yeah. So it's different than what had happened several years ago that they had applied for. It was applied under a different set of standards, and I will say as part of that, theirs is like a textbook version of what agritourism really is. I mean, it was truly almost to the T of how this should be done. A farm to table, seminars on growing, you pick operations. I mean, it's yeah. But I believe that there was one in the past that might not have matched up properly. But this one that was just offered recently, the BCA approved it in the same May, I think, timeframe. I loved it. That's all I have, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, what's our most current resolution number?
The first resolution would be 2025-23.
Stay up here if you want to pull up.
Okay, and we now have before us resolution 2025-23. This is for zoning resolution text amendment, fence wall and screening, and reads whereas Manor Township Board of Trustees have received from the zoning commission to legislatively adopt the following text amendment to the current Manor Township zoning resolution on July 7, 2025. And text amendment 25, section 503, fence and wall screening, whereas Green County Regional Planning Commission provided an affirmed recommendation of the aforementioned text amendment on June 25th, 2025. Now therefore be resolved that after due deliberation, Miami Township Board of Trustees legislatively adopt the above text amendment to the current Miami Township zoning resolution. The text amendment will officially go into place, will go into effect August 21, 2025. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I second.
Brian, probably should be in line for move and second before the roll call. Just for,
I can have that. Okay. On the same line?
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments regarding this resolution? Hearing none, may we vote please?
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 2025-23. Zoning resolution text amendment 2025-005-G, section 503, fence wall and screening as presented. Ms. Moyer?
Yes.
Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted.
I do want to correct the spelling of my name.
Oh, it's the wrong one there, correct.
Add an L.
I will do that, sorry about that.
Okay, the resolution has been adopted. We'll move to resolution 2025-24. This is zoning resolution text amendment 2025-00T006T for section 508 agricultural uses, service establishments, and agritourism. It reads, whereas Miami Township Board of Trustees has received from the zoning commission to legislatively adopt the following text amendment to the current Miami Township zoning resolution on July 7, 2025, and text amendment, this is for text amendment 25006T. Whereas Green County Regional Planning and Coordinating Commission provided an affirmed recommendation for the aforementioned text amendment on June 25th, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved that after due deliberation, the Miami Township Board of Trustees legislatively adopt the above text amendment to the current Miami Township zoning resolution. The text amendment will officially go into effect August 21st, 2025. Is there a motion for resolution 2025-24?
I so move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
It's up to you to second.
I will second
You could,
it. Any further discussion regarding this resolution?
I would suggest an amendment deleting farm hay rides, corn maze, and petting zoo. I move such an amendment.
If you don't mind, can I interject, please?
Sure.
Sorry. I would say that removing those are only examples of what we listed in there. It would not change what a permitted, what an agritourism use would be, just because those are listed as such as examples, that's all they are.
I think that's a good point. I still want them removed.
No, I'm not against you. I'm
so
just
you,
saying.
that's a motion you're giving?
Motion to make that amendment.
Okay, we have a motion for an amendment. We'd like to discuss this.
No one seconded.
Is there a motion? Oh, you moved. Is there a
I
second?
moved an amendment.
Uh-huh.
I hear no second.
I
Are you
heard
calling
no
for a
second. Is there a second?
Well, I guess that's moot.
Okay. Amendment fails for lack of a second.
But the original motion is there.
Okay, so we moved and seconded on the resolution. May we vote, please?
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 2025-24, zoning resolution text amendment 2025-006-T, section 508, agricultural uses, agricultural service establishments, and agritourism, as adding members. Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Mr. Mutcher,
Yes.
Mr. Hollister.
No.
The resolution has passed. Any other questions, comments, from the administrator, from the board, from the public? Hearing none, the hearing will be closed at 5:56 or 7. We'll move on to the fire department report, chief.
Yes, one of you have July 7th. Does one of you have the July 7th in the bottom right-hand corner?
I have 21.
5-7.
Yes.
I had 21.
I'll take that 7 back.
It looked familiar.
This week, we're gonna make finalization of the organization of duties, so we can start having a better accountability of all the different things that, need to be taken care of. Started some daily routines. We walked around the station and talked about some things, just to clean up, and I'm still learning a lot, and the officers have been great bringing me along. So paramedic and EMT training agreements, those are, I hope to get those finalized this week and bring that to you on the next meeting. The drug kit change, that went into effect last week. which is a big improvement. And also save us some money. And I mean, overwhelming, everybody wanted that to go back into effect, and we made that happen last week. So that's been done. I'm in the process of researching our different contracts with different vendors, just to see if they're feasible and, you know, if there's a better route, a better way to go. You know, it's gonna help us develop next year's budget for the line items. You have before you there shift numbers for the all the days in July. And I've tried to make it more so you could read it more user-friendly. What you see there in the green is when we have paramedic coverage on duty versus EMT coverage in the gold. And I'll lay that out when we finalize the July's staffing report. We're attempting to move some of our part-time personnel around to get us to more 3-person staffing versus 2. We're going to start recruiting again, part-time personnel. I have met with Xenia Township Chief, and my plan this week is to meet with Cedarville Township Chief. And I mentioned this at the last meeting, but the old tanker that sits in the back of the station and the pickup truck that's not in good enough shape to use, I just need to know how to go about getting rid of those, what the process is for either selling them or putting them on govs or getting those out of our possession.
So the tanker just doesn't work anymore?
Yeah, we have a frontline tanker. That tanker is old and it's non-functionable, and the brakes aren't up to par as where they should be. It's a liability. And
I don't know how to sell things.
We try to sell it, I think, I'm not sure it actually ever went on the market on Gov,
Gov
whatever.
deals or whatever.
Gov, yeah, Gov
He
deals.
never got it listed for some reason.
Oh, he didn't?
Tried.
Okay.
That was the dump truck.
Well, it's the tanker too, they tried to list them both, but for some reason couldn't get one. We sold the dump truck, but the tanker's still here.
And any of those websites, you know, are worth an investigation.
Okay.
Because putting it out on the street, you know, with a for sale
Yeah,
sign.
yeah, no.
Probably not.
I think there's someone out there
Cemetery.
that'll at least, you know, purchase the pickup truck. But
Yeah.
the tanker, you know, as is, yeah, but we'll get those listed on Gov deals. But
Is the pickup truck drivable?
no,
Is it structurally safe?
I mean, it's, somebody could use it as a pickup truck, but I'm being told that it's.
Good demolition truck.
Good demolition, yeah, I'm being told it's a good demolition
Take it to the
truck.
fair.
Doesn't help us, but
Well,
I've seen worse out there, so.
if it's worth less than, say, $700, Waltz would probably give you $700 for it, I
They
think.
could give you
Oh, he might not
cost
know what
line,
Waltz
maybe
is.
$400, junkyard.
Waltz is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll bring more than $700.
To sell it outright.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's
You
$1,000 maybe.
In the past, we have put equipment in the front yard of the township road
Sell it
department
if you want to.
with a for sale sign on it.
You could set up the shop.
All the lettering comes off relatively easily,
Good.
other than cleaner, and a heat gun.
Is it painted?
I'm not sure.
I think it's decal.
It probably is.
One of a kind souvenir.
Yeah.
So,
We can move along with that.
yeah, that's all. I'll do my best to have that report back to you on those AEDs by the next meeting. And that way you make a decision.
Over the last 2 weeks, how many ambulance runs, any fire runs, that kind of? I'm just used to that statistic.
Yeah, I'll put that in the staffing report. I can tell you we're averaging about 3 a day. No significant fire runs. other than, a fire alarm in the same place twice. Fire alarm last night, so over the last 2 weeks, about 20 runs. I mean, I count them up for you.
Is this report a pain for you? Does that come out pretty easily, or is that
It's
something?
pretty easy. I mean, it gives me, I
like
like
it.
to track it. And,
I'm glad to see there aren't many days that are EMT only.
yeah, and some of them are half days.
Some are-
And those that are EMT, when Nate was there, I mean, he's covered for paramedic, I'm a paramedic, so, we do have a paramedic in the house. But if there's any of the shift where there's not a paramedic on duty, I just put it down as gold and just so we can look at it.
Okay.
But I will get you, the report numbers on fire runs, EMS runs, auto accidents, and then any significant, incidents. So 2 on the 21st, 4 or 5 on the 20th, 3 on the 19th, 2 on the 18th, 2 on the 17th, 2 on the 16th, 3 on the 15th. Whoa, 1,
These
2,
are ambulance
3,
runs?
4. Yeah, there's out of all of those that I talked about, we have there was a fire alarm in a residence, the mutual aid run with, down at Young's Jersey Dairy, but 80% of them are ambulance runs. But all in the future, with the staffing report, I'll put the numbers in there. So you'll know,
Sounds
and
good.
which are mutual aid and which are in our township. I think it's also beneficial to know, when we're out on another run and another run comes in and another, fire department has to come in and, while we're out, take those runs. So I'll put together a nice report for you. Oh, last 2 items, the equipment, I mentioned that up here, to have a good report on the equipment when I get these duty assignments that go into effect this week. We'll have a better understanding of our equipment and where we want to go from there. And then we're working on the budget for next year. And again, I'm just researching a lot of the line items to make sure we have those numbers in place, so we have a good feel for where we're gonna go next year.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions for the Chief?
I have one. When you do contact the vendors, can you, just request any information they may have of tariffs? If they feel like their prices would be
Sure.
looking at
Yeah,
tariffs?
one of them is maintenance on the vehicles. We have contracts with companies which, other than the parts itself, tariff-wise, all the fire truck companies are within the United States, but yeah, I mean, it's I'm looking at some of the costs and I'm asking questions and maybe there's a good reason. Tariffs could be. Any other questions?
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate your report. Item number 7, cemetery report.
Okay, since the last meeting, we've had 3 burials, we've had 2 natural burials, 1 prairie and 1 oak grove, and a traditional. I have a natural tomorrow at Oak Grove. And then I'll be working on
Do you work on what?
ditches, trimming.
Oh,
Dan's working alone this week.
I am.
Brandon taking a break at home?
Yes, he is.
Good.
Much needed.
I'm enjoying himself.
He's worked hard.
Harking back to our last meeting, you wanted to know where we were financially on the pine forest section. I did ask our fiscal officer 2 weeks ago for a figure on what we had paid the architects, and I never received that figure. Although, we're guesstimating from signing checks and, initial discussion, I would think we're probably, and we're done with them, I would think we're probably in a rough $10,000 to $12,000 range.
That we spend on the.
Yeah, that's not,
This is on the Pine Forest.
yeah, that's not, I don't think that's low.
So,
Excuse me, I don't. I think we probably, that would come out a little less, but I bumped it up just a little bit.
so,
Because they didn't do a lot of the things that they originally costed out for the job.
so, when we approved that, was that just for the architects, or was it for the whole implementation? That's what I'm understanding, like,
The way I understood it was for the architects and to get the walkways laid out, to get the grounds cleared, to get a fence up, which technically the fence isn't up yet because the fence that's there is the fence that needed to be there for the Oak Grove Cemetery. I mean, we had planned on putting that up, so we didn't have to look at Nick's menagerie over there. And so the Oak Grove part of that is up, and we still have to finish the relatively small section that goes back on the north side of the Pine Forest. Now, guesstimating, roughing it out, I would think between the pavilion, the signage,
the pavilion.
gravel for the walkways, that sort of thing, I would think we're around 18,000 to this point. Could be plus or minus 1,000 either way. As I say, without having that figure for the architects, it's hard to put a hard and fast number on that. Okay, so what do we need to finish? As I say, we're done with the first part. What we need to do is, in no particular order, but we need to buy some bulk pine needles, and I found a supplier for them in Dayton.
Really?
Yeah. And we need to cover some really bad bare areas that just don't look like, they're in the section, but they don't look like they belong because it's just bare dirt. So there's places that need to be covered. This might be 3 to 5, I don't know. It depends on how far this stuff goes. I mean, you buy it by the bale, like $20 a bale, something like that. But it doesn't really say what the coverage is, and we're not making it 4 inches thick. It's just to give it a look, So that needs to be done. A fence along the back on the west side, right? Yeah. Oh, on the east side. Fence along the back, short fence on the east side. Only about 5 feet tall, just to make separation between that and the rest of all the area that's behind that. There's no definition back there. And then we've got some plantings to do. We need to put some vegetation, some shrubs or something. We have recommendations from them what to put along the other side, the west side, where the gravel drive is, to have some sort of, and these are not huge mature things, but relatively good starts of hydrangeas, or I'm not a florist or nursery man. Again, that has been recommended as what we could put
Separation.
for the separation between the two. And then we really need, towards the end of the year maybe, if we can get in there easily, to plant maybe half a dozen medium-sized long needle pine trees in some of these bare areas that we talked about. And the reason that they're bare is because they're in little spots where there isn't a tree, a pine tree above it. And so it's just open, and so it doesn't have any needles that have been, and it doesn't have any canopy yet. Now, give it a few years and it'll grow and it'll make a little canopy. That might be somewhere around, 5,000. Now, I don't know the cost of
For the
vegetation.
needles or for everything you mentioned?
Everything I mentioned. Needles might be 3 to 5, vegetation might be
3 to 5,000?
3 to 500. Vegetation might, the fence might be $1,000 in wood, give or take, 1,500.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1,500 for that. And the plantings, depending upon how, how wild we go with that, I'm sure that could be a couple of, maybe 1,500 also.
That's the way you.
Yeah, right. So perhaps somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 to finish the whole section. I don't expect the section to be open until next year. Just has to mature some and get some of these plantings in. And this is not the time of year to plant those things, so will probably be October-ish,
November.
September, October. Yeah.
And so that's what you were referring to as phase 2,
Final phase.
final phase?
Yeah.
Okay.
So with the board's approval, I will direct our cemeterian, that's you, to continue on with his efforts when available, because obviously he's.
So you're estimating, or guesstimating $5,000 more?
I would think on the high end, yeah.
And you think we've had somewhere around 18,000 this far? What I don't understand is like, the labor is not being counted in that, because.
No.
But that is charged to the cemetery.
Yeah, it is, and, God love them, they're employees, and they're gonna do, they're gonna do what's necessary
They do,
when they can.
But we
But they're
have,
being paid
through the cemetery fund.
through the cemetery.
And we have a certain amount of funds that come in, and it's not based, like on other funds, on tax revenue, it's based on the number of people who purchase.
Now, if they weren't working in the cemetery, they'd be working somewhere else and being paid out of the road fund, which is then taxpayer money. So at least this is
Yeah.
individual money, kind
I
of.
brought a little bit in the last month.
I'm sorry?
I brought a little bit of money in the last month.
Yes, you did. Okay.
Might help a little bit.
You brought a lot in last month. Sold, how many did you sell?
Oh, by selling,
$14,000
by
in income last
selling,
month.
I think it helps.
And it was all natural burial stuff, right?
Yeah, maybe more traditional, most of it's natural.
So,
I appreciate you coming back with this.
I wish I had the number from the fiscal officer, but
Yeah, and
never showed up.
I keep seeing things like trim box, I don't know what trim box was, like, I see that
Trim box for the slab,
for the slab, for the
Never.
thing.
25,
25.
500.
And I see something for cemetery fund on Amazon of 1,200 or something, I don't know.
Yeah,
So
well,
it's just like.
it all adds up.
It's
You're right.
all incoming. And I realized the way the whole you've really built this cemetery. And it's a nice one. And it's an unusual way that we built it with the vision, and then it's without it, goals and budgets and tying things back. And now we're in with this new section. And so obviously we don't stop short of completing it. I still find that unusual that we would have a carte blanche, but we don't have that. That's not how the township has purchased things in the past, so.
Well, what I've done on the other sections, the other 4 sections that I've worked on and opened was, you don't have, it's not like you can go to the store and buy a cemetery and it's gonna be this price. I mean, you decide how you want it to be, you decide what you need it to be, you decide what those needs are going to be and how much they cost, And then you wait until you've got the money in the cemetery fund from the sale of the graves. I mean, none of these sections were started until there was money in the fund. But I've always tried to make it the best looking, operating, working, and I guess you could throw in the website, you know. The Glencore's website, you know, the cost of that, but that also, you know, gave the public some idea of what's available. I've always tried to get it at the least expensive amount that I could. But, you know, prairie grass costs so much. You need so much to put in here. The drill costs so much to rent, to plant it. You know, and all of those things, but you can't know 100% ahead of time how much seed you need and how many days it's going to take to use the drill and you know, all of those things on all this stuff. And as I mentioned, you know, I have donated thousands of hours to the cemetery. I mean, probably half of that time just in putting the cemetery software in place, researching every single old book, every burial book from back to the 30s, and entering them into the system, and walking every single grave with a yellow notepad and writing down, you know, what was on the tombstone, what the name was, and then cross-checking to see whether it was in the right spot. And then if it was, then I put it into this system. And there's 13,000 plus entries into the system. And I'm not blowing my own horn, I'm just saying I put every one of those 13,000 in there, and I wasn't being paid for that. Or any of the other stuff I did for the cemetery. So I think I'm trying to keep the cost down of producing these, what I think are valuable assets to the residents of my township in the future, as best I could. So
you're asking for authorization for $5,000 more for the Pine Forest Cemetery?
if you'd be so kind.
I so move.
I don't know what's proper. I'm trying to think this through. I mean, obviously it needs to be finished because now we're in. Now we have a cemetery section that we either finish it or we don't. Is that what you're saying? Like, these things need to be finished in order to have an opening next year?
Yeah, you can't stop 75% of the way through.
And then are we done with the cemetery?
How many
No, are we done with the cemetery?
How many burials could there be?
309. At today's rate, that's roughly $250,000 in income.
So 30 of them would pay the upfront cost. Just very roughly.
And the rest would be in perpetuity. There's no such thing as closing a cemetery. Once you have a loved one buried
Not in
there.
the state of Ohio. As long as
Yeah.
as long as the state of Ohio exists by law, they have to
Yeah.
provide and maintain for these burials. And we can't do it, they'll do it. I mean, they have to.
Is that true?
Yes, it is true. Absolutely.
So why are people like Bath Township all worried about their cemetery that's now costing in as much as it's bringing in and it's about to, they have to pay for it if we don't? Really?
Yeah. Now,
They take-
I don't know 100% with Bath Cemetery because that was the church cemetery. Right? You know, I don't know if the church, you know, what the relationship is.
Yeah. Well, they have full control over that. I thought she said it's costing them several $100,000 to run it each year. I thought that, I mean, it's huge. Maybe she said 400,000. And so right now their sales are keeping pace. Maybe I got the numbers wrong. It sounds like an awful lot of money.
They also have 25 acres of undeveloped property
Yeah.
for the cemetery, so.
I made a specific motion
Oh, do we need, do we
There's
need
been
to
no second,
second in order to discuss, is that what you're saying?
yeah.
I guess I'll second so we can keep discussing it. I guess what, I really appreciate you opening up this conversation. If we could, I'm not as, positive, no, what's the word? Hopeful or positive as you, as far as how much we spent so far and what it's gonna take us to maintain it in perpetuity, and that, you say, I think you had a figure last year, is that we still have like $1.5 million worth of spots. And 1.5 million oddly doesn't sound like that much to me when I think of $20,000 mowing contracts. And I'm not trying to push back or anything, I'm just trying, since you explained your approach and your orientation and everything you've done, I just wanted to explain why I seem overly concerned. If we could put bounds around it and then start thinking, okay, what is this really gonna cost us? Because you say, oh, once you're the Oak Grove, it's in place, nothing to do. Oh, we all know that there's lightning strikes and it costs $6,000 for somebody to come and clean it up. And we all know that pine forests fall apart. I mean, don't we call contractors to take trees out of the old part of the cemetery? I can remember like bills of several.
Only the ones that we can't handle.
The ones that you can't handle. And Dan's hopefully with us for some more years, but then we need more staff. And all I'm saying is that once we get to the point where we're no longer expanding into new sections, I'd like to really take a good realistic look at what it's gonna cost us to maintain our pricing structure based on that.
That shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, realistically, now, the new section of Glen Forest Cemetery, which we inherited, as it were, from the Glen Forest Cemetery Association, because they had already purchased that property from the village and had roughed out the plan of how it would be laid out and had it marked, all the graves and everything. So that was kind of a foregone conclusion. I mean, it's 3 acres and it's open tombstones and it's gonna require mowing and it's gonna require trimming around the headstones, and it's gonna require, I don't know what else, in perpetuity. All right, so let's go to the columbarium, which, I would freely admit, columbarium was not as popular as I expected. I mean, I was sold that, the wave of the future is cremations, and columbariums have been very popular in cemeteries, and it's something that your public wants. And I thought, all right, well, give the public what they want. Okay, well, anyway, there's hardly any maintenance to that. There's 300, I think how many niches are there?
150.
150 niches. Okay, so there's 150 niches at $500 a niche, and so that's what that will bring in. But except for trimming the arborvitae or whatever the thing is, that's about the only maintenance to it.
That's marble, it's probably not gonna be maintenance. I think a door fell off one time, but
Yeah, a couple are falling off.
couple are falling off.
Yeah, but we replaced them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all
All right.
holding, they're all there now.
And the prairie is relatively self-sufficient. I mean, there's, you're gonna have a whole planting done along the center part, and, I don't know how much you budgeted for that.
Well, I don't, that's just the point, I don't feel like we budget at all. But that's okay, we can fix it, we can get better.
Okay, you and TJ were gonna, is that
Oh, you
TJ
mean, but-
or AJ?
JT, trust. This planting in the center.
Where the fountain is, you're gonna
Yeah,
put
yeah.
bushes and trees and flowers and
I
maybe
hear about
something on
bushes
the
and
other
trees.
side where the memorial.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
so.
the prairie does take management.
Sure,
And it will.
But it does not take $20,000 a year worth of mowing and trimming in
Right.
there. The scattering garden, every couple of months, and this is not out of pocket, every couple of months, we have to go in there and pick the weeds out of it, and then maybe once a year throw some mulch on it at $75. But there's 3 times 5, 100,
150 a year over there or something probably.
yeah. So, and then the Oak Grove is more traditional, there's no question about it, and that was the intent of it, and that will be
What do you mean it's more traditional?
a more traditional kind of cemetery. I mean, it will have, it has rows and rows and rows of graves. There are 400.
And we'll have the big mowing expenses like the other
Mhm.
traditional does?
Yeah.
Which is 20,000 for the other part, right?
Well, that's for both.
That's for
For
everyone.
both sides of the street.
Yeah, both sides of the street.
And
Yeah.
the trimming and the picking up
Leaves
the
and everything.
And then the Oak Grove might be about the same?
No.
4 hours a week roughly.
I mean, will we contract that out?
No, it wouldn't.
No. Not at present, just,
Not
Yeah.
for that. We may do that.
and once the
Once
pine
there are a lot of
forest,
headstones, it will become more expensive.
yeah, and once pine forest is open, other than picking up dropped limbs or branches that might come down,
I mean, it's always something though. We all have
Sure,
living systems
but-
at our house like that. It's constant, yes.
but that can't be more than a few thousand a year. Because it's totally natural. So anyway,
Okay. We had
Bottom line
$40,000
is,
with mowing
bottom-
plus 10,000 plus some staff time. I mean, it could be 50, 60,000 a year, so when you get to that 1.5 million, then you're looking only at about 25 years worth of, so, I'm concerned. But we can look at pricing structures, and I know you've always been, and one thing I don't understand is why you're always resistant to setting, not necessarily an endowment, but setting aside a maintenance fund, but we don't have to talk about that tonight.
well, the state doesn't empower townships to have perpetual endowments. We're not allowed to carry endowments.
We're not allowed.
We're not
or
allowed by law.
We're not required.
No, we're not, well, maybe it's required, I don't know, but
Okay, then more research should be done, but yeah, I
Well,
appreciate,
I hear-
You may create I'm looking at the ORC right now, I'm thinking.
and I don't know where
I hear that we
down.
need a long-term projection, but we also have taken on a project that we all, in general, seem to support. And I'm in favor of authorizing this next step, 5,000.
from my experience with the state cemetery board, and cemeteries come in there, every time. In private cemeteries and church cemeteries, they are all required by law to have an endowment. It's a nightmare to keep track of somebody who died 50 years ago, and whether they had made their payment, or when they bought a grave 10 years ago, and then you have to keep the financial records up to date, and you're audited every single year on your financial records, whether you have sufficient amount of money in the fund, and somebody's gonna end up with a fair amount of work if that gets put in place. That just doesn't happen. And
Oh, that reminds me, looking toward the future, we have, like 7 or 8 different ways to be at rest in our cemetery? We have traditional burial, we have columbariums, we have a scattered garden, we have the prairie, we have the oak grove, we have a pine walkway. Am I missing anybody?
No.
6 different ways to be buried. I think there's one more I'm missing. But, and so you've been diligently keeping track of a database, and you've been selling graves, and you know everything, but someday you're not gonna be here and somebody else is. So there's also the, right now Dan literally gets off a tractor, comes out of the garage and sells a grave, and then.
Brandon sells
And
it.
Brandon, and then they dig the grave, they sell the grave, they make the deed, so just another long-term cost would be possibly administration, and, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna bring up the computer, but.
Well, unless Yellow Springs builds these $500 500 new homes that they're projecting, and then 25 years from now, we will start to get some of those homes into the cemetery, yeah, I would expect we're gonna be relatively stable with 20, 30 burials a year,
Yeah, we average 30 or better.
30 or more.
Oh, yeah.
Not too many, but, so that's gonna be kind of a finite number out into the future and until it gets, until everything gets sold around it and the Walmarts and the condominiums go up and whatever, but we're just trying to deal with what we have in front of us at the moment.
Okay.
Let's move to item number 8.
We have a motion pending.
Is it still pending?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for discussion. Hearing none, may we vote, please?
Been moved and seconded to approve an additional $5,000 expenditure to finish the Pine Forest Cemetery. Mr. Hollister,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
I'm gonna say no until we're tracking it better.
Mr. Mutcher,
Yes.
motion's approved.
Keep in mind, Ward, at any time, you don't want me to deal with the cemetery, I'll happily give it over to you.
Well, Chris.
No, but just keep that in mind.
But that feels like an offer and a little bit of a threat, because you built this, and I appreciate, I love our cemetery, but you built this kingdom, an empire, basically. It's like, hey, if you don't want to build it, you can have it, Marilyn, thanks. That's exactly what I'm worried about, is having built an empire that is now an empire. So
An empire.
you offering to, it is, it's pretty extensive. You offering to, anytime, I'll turn it over to you, Marilyn, just give me the word and I'll turn it over to you, and then I have a full-time job. So,
Well, I'm happy to continue it as long as I'm, as
well,
long as
that's
I
exactly what I'm talking about.
As long as I
As soon
feel
as you're not here, then game on.
As soon
Now
as
we
I-
got some, now we have something.
feel like I'm being supported, but if I feel like I'm not doing what you want me to do, then go ahead and do it yourself. It's okay.
Well, that's why for years I've been saying, you're
I'm happy
adding,
with what I've
Now you're-
produced to this point.
and I'm happy with it too. But that's it, every time you add a section, I say, oh, wait a minute, at some point, I'm envisioning the future, I'm envisioning future trustees, at some point, somebody's got this thing, this very beautiful thing, but it's a, like I said, a kingdom unto itself.
It seems what I'm hearing Marilyn say is clearer, like having a clearer, when we would take on a new project, either at my workplace or in the village, typically you have more written projections of budgets, and it's all, like I would expect it in a more of a report form, so it just feels very back of the envelope, everything. And I realize you've done this for many years, but that's hard to follow, and I know if I try to do my own banking by the back of the envelope, it's so easy to forget something. So just, it feels very watery, not as an outsider in particular, not being able to say, well, how much is this costing? What is in the budget for this year? Are some of these, if this $5,000 is needed, is it needed right this year, or could it be done in the spring? Just without the figures written out, I sense that that's what's causing the anxiety, is that, and the sense of long-term projections, like how much does it cost in perpetuity to run these? So that's what I hear, and wanting is more like written out there.
I thought I tried to address that somewhat in that, there are no examples of this to follow to get, with a village, if you want to put a new road in, you know how much an excavator is going to cost, you know how much money per mile, or foot or mile or whatever, you know how much sidewalks cost, you know how much swimming pools cost. I didn't know how much a pine forest walkway was going to cost. The best I could do was project it myself based on my experience and my desire to keep it as nice as possible for the least amount of money expended. And I know that there's, how much money's in the cemetery fund, and I would not in any way, shape, or form suggest spending more money that's available for this specific project. So having a report of, 2 years down the road, say, okay, this new section, which I'm not going to do, Marilyn, this new section it's going to be excavation cost $22,000, planting $17,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Number one, it's not going to happen, and I'm not going to do it anymore. But that was what I was trying to say. You can only do what you feel is necessary with the funds that you have. And I personally have tried to keep all the bells and whistles quiet and do it as inexpensively as possible. So that's all I do, is the best I can do.
Can I ask for the projected completion time?
I'm hoping to open it in the spring.
So it's not gonna be completed until the spring?
It'll be completed, but it needs to mature.
Okay, but what do you think would be, what's your timing of spending this money, about spending the $5,000?
Before the first of the year. So it'll give us a chance to put things in the ground so they can grow before we get a hard freeze.
Can I ask one more question about road maintenance? There's quite a few roads through this. Is that an ongoing thing? Is there a lot of road maintaining to do?
Well,
Was
it'll
it-
be road maintenance,
Is it like gravel?
it'll be gravel from the later on.
But over the years, it'll be gravel, it'll be gravel. It'd be up fixing potholes or gravel or
In the cemetery?
in cemetery. There's one that goes through the Oak Grove and
Yeah,
goes
that's
back to
gravel.
the Oak Grove gravel. Okay.
Still on roads, kind of, sort of. You heard anything from the county about
I did,
the collective bids?
Yeah.
When and where?
Friday,
Friday.
Jacoby.
Okay, we'll see, there we go.
He hasn't got the road department yet, so that's why I haven't missed it.
Okay,
So we
so-
got road department now?
You're ahead of me, I'm not quite sure what you're talking
Have
about.
we gone to road department now, or are we still?
Yeah, I thought you said you were gonna be out doing a lot of trimming and
I am.
et cetera. That's roads.
I am.
Okay.
Okay, what's the
Oh,
road
he's not
report?
finished with the report, go for it.
Okay, can I go to road?
Yes.
Okay. So after my burial tomorrow,
Mhm.
I'll start working on ditches.
Mhm.
Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday I'll be on Jacoby, because they're gonna pay.
Mhm.
And I'll have Ryan trim guardrails or something Friday.
Mhm.
That's the plan for this.
Yeah.
So we should have paved road come Friday. Weather permitting.
Well, those residents will get out there and give you lots of cupcakes probably for that. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
So the Jacoby, this is the Jacoby Road near 68,
Our end of it.
and we only have a little chunk of it, but
Uh,
the county is doing the whole thing.
About 100, no, they're only doing our, we're only doing
What's
ours.
going on, okay.
Xenia wanted to tag on to that, but they didn't have the money, so. Should do theirs. Should be nice.
Great.
Item number 9, fiscal officer's report. We have one apparently, so we have the checking investment account balances at present. Well, one's for the July 16th and the other one is for June 30th, so it's got to be close. Brian, you have something else for us?
Yes, so we have the contract, we were awarded, I don't know if we've officially stated this, so we applied, the zoning department, the township applied for a grant through the state of Ohio. It's through the, I don't have it in front of me, Housing Assistance, I'm not getting the full title.
Ohio Office of Housing Support.
Thank you very much. We worked with regional planning to come up with a figure that would work because they are going to be, okay, so this grant is for updating our resolution, which is something we were already in the middle of doing anyway. So to get a grant money from the state of Ohio to update our resolution and make sure it's sound for housing throughout the state of Ohio and in our township. It was a great thing. The timing of it is fantastic. So we were awarded from the state of Ohio $13,669. We are entering a contract. I'm asking you if we can enter into a contract with regional planning, which you had given your permission a couple of months ago. The contract is now complete, so I would like you to review it and sign. Again, I'm presenting it. I know it was emailed to you. I don't know if you want to go line by line. I won't read through that. But the contract is here, has already been approved by regional planning, the executive commission, and also the Greene County Prosecutor's Office has already signed it. So
And we
all this-
approved to go forward.
yes, you guys had approved to go forward with it. So I want to present that. I want to keep these together. This is our information that was provided, so we'll keep that together so I can make copies for regional planning. But the last page of that first packet
Okay.
is needs a signature from each one of the, or at least 2 of 3. And then I'll take it to regional planning. So then we will work with regional planning. We've already set up some of the guidelines. It'll allow us to make the changes quicker too. I don't think they're going to go as quick as regional planning thinks they're going to go, but I'm hopeful that we can get some of these things. It's a 1-year grant, so there's certain things that have timelines to be completed by certain dates.
So we're gonna.
But it's
receive-
difficult for the zoning commission because they meet once a month, and we do an hour-and-a-half meeting, and for them to review all this information, it is hard to get that done. It's easy for me to do it and for regional planning to sit and hash out some of this stuff, but the actual committee only meets once a month.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's.
Is Miami Township receiving the whole 13,000?
It's actually, I did find out that it is all reimbursable. So what it is regional planning will invoice the township will in turn invoice the state of Ohio, and then they will release the funds. So I thought it was more of a, here's your 13,000, follow all the guidelines, but it is a reimbursable type of grant.
Like more about, I get it.
And really, regional planning, Deandra at regional planning is really spearheading it on our behalf, because there were 2 other townships that also got this.
Yeah.
So they're working with them as well. So this is just your formal agreement to work with regional planning on this contract.
So we have to make sure we keep Gina in the loop as far as reimbursement.
Correct. Yes,
How it works.
yes,
Because she often,
yeah. So that'll be done kind of on a monthly, but really a quarterly basis. And I'll keep up with that, and I'll report back to you during my regular time, once a month, to let you know the status.
Okay, I entertain a motion for a contract for zoning resolution update between the Regional Planning and Coordinating Commission of Greene County and Miami Township. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, may we vote please?
Moved and seconded to approve contract between Miami Township and Regional Planning for the Ohio Office of Housing Support Grant process. Ms. Moyer?
Yes.
Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
Mr. Witcher?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Brian.
Brian.
Absolutely.
Item number 11, standing committee reports. NVRPC.
I announced early this year that I did not have time to be our point person at this time for Miami Valley NVRPC.
And I said I would be
As the alternate,
the alternate, and I'm willing to take it on.
that's cool. That sounds great, right now.
That there are meetings during the day, right?
Right.
And I'm not at night, okay.
Okay, that's what I have to say about my ability, regional planning.
I don't think we need to formally change anything, I'll just
No, you're always,
plan on going to all the meetings.
Brian Hush is always up for a car buddy.
Okay.
Greene County Regional Planning Coordinating Commission, I attended both their meetings last month. They basically revolved around 2 townships, Miami Township and Bath Township, 2 resolutions for Miami Township, 2 resolutions for Bath Township. We've heard the Miami Township ones, we'll get into the Bath Township ones. Other than that, the rest of that meeting was revolved around, there was an employee of regional planning who's going to retire. And we were given 6 to 8 weeks notice for that. So they're in the process of recruiting a replacement for her.
What is the position?
Plan?
Deandra?
No.
No, okay,
She's the executive director.
okay,
Um,
okay.
Michelle Hudnall will be leaving.
Oh,
Clifton Union Cemetery,
No report.
Bias Development Corporation.
well, they have a branding and marketing strategy as always, trying to, and also part of it is trying to distinguish what the Wyeth Development Corporation does separate from what the chamber does. An initiative called Move Your Business to Yellow Springs, where they're getting the word out that we indeed are business friendly, and working on those networks to let it be known that we are open for business. Planning a fall event probably in September, so that people, we've been having really nice meetings where we have different business owners come in. It's been fantastic to know all the exciting things that are going on in our community, entrepreneurial wise, but just so we can see each other, they know what we have to offer them, they can learn from each other, just kind of have more visibility and more synergy among people who are doing all kinds of things in the village. We think of the business in Yellow Springs as being the downtown strip, which is very important, but there's so many things, so many people doing interesting things. So just trying to get to know each other better and share resources.
Just look at the list of members of the Chamber of Commerce, there's like 100 are, and
Yeah.
things I've never heard of before.
Yeah, and so it's really great to be bringing some of it. Some of the
Similarly,
things that-
look in the red book, the business listing in the red book.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm awed by stuff I've never heard of.
and there's many resources. Those people all represent resources to help other business people. So that's planned event for September, and that's probably all I have for YSDC.
Well, we might as well keep going, Glen Forest Natural Burial Committee.
We haven't met, and that's, one of the things is, I'll reopen another discussion, but when we go to, because we don't, I don't say clear budget, I say, well, we need this, should we just spend the money because I see money is there, the money is there, should I just spend it? So kind of feels weird. But yeah, we have not met recently.
Active Transportation Committee.
Active Transportation, they're busy working on their next round of Safe Routes to School funding, which would include, there's a lot of buzz around the new buildings, including, the multimodal path along Dayton Yellow Springs. Are you a fan of it yet, Don? I know when it first went in, you didn't really like it. The giant sidewalk that
Along
Dayton Yellow Springs Road.
Dayton
Yeah.
Street.
Anyway, you don't have to answer that question. But the same thing is, we're putting a grant for that to go from Dayton Yellow Spring along East Enid and Dayton Yellow Springs to get to the new building.
Wait, where? Say it again.
Along East Enid, if you're at
From Dayton Street to the new high
To the
school?
new high school,
Okay.
yeah. Hopefully get grant funding for that.
On which
And-
side of East
The
End?
school side. And also in funding for crosswalk and signage at the new schools, at the high school campus and the Mills Lawn campus. Part of this funding proposal will be a covered bike parking at the new high school, and I don't know if this one will make the grade, but street sidewalk on Phillips Street, the sidewalk path along Phillips Street and at Mills Lawn, which they'd love to have a big riding circle for bicycles along Mills Lawn, but you get to Phillips Street, and it's just a terror, because it's not easy to ride over there without risking your life. So we'll be asked to sign, write letters of support for this and be a party to it. That's all I have, I think.
Okay. Item number 12, new business.
Green County Township Association.
Our dues have been paid.
Are you sure? And
Yes.
I saw an email today.
I called her,
Okay,
she said, I have the check, I understand, everything's fine.
okay, cool.
Okay, thank you.
New business. I asked for one brief moment here in new business. We have an ongoing legal thing, and the counsel for it asked me to ask the board if they would like to have a special meeting in order to be updated as to where things are.
That's, what's her name? I forget, Dawn Frick?
Or I could ask her to potentially come to a township meeting, and we'll have an executive session here. And we went over a few more dates into August, and she couldn't do those dates of our meetings.
I would love to have a special meeting for her and give her the things I have, if she wants them. Does that
Trustee
mean?
Hollister?
It's fine with me.
Okay, I will,
We can't let it go forever.
I'll relay that to her, and we'll maybe knock off a couple of potential times here in the very near future.
Okay.
Maybe next week. Old business, any other new business? Old business, Don, you've got a,
I received a message from Brandon Huddleston, our county administrator, speaking for the county commission. He said that at their August 21st meeting, there'll be a vote, that is the county commission meeting, a vote on establishing for the next 5 years utility scale solar exclusion zone as we've requested. And it'll be at the same time that there is a request from New Jasper Township for similar. And they've sent out the notices that are necessary, and they're posting tomorrow on their Facebook site notice of.
You said they're having a vote on August 21st, that's also a hearing. Is it not, is that a hearing?
Excuse me, if I said a vote, I was mistaken. It'll be
I mean, the
the
idea.
hearing is scheduled for the 21st, so I misspoke.
Will the vote all be taken after the hearing, do you know?
I'm guessing that it will, but he
Okay.
doesn't say that.
Okay, so we could, what time is the hearing?
They meet at 1 p.m. on Thursday, the 21st.
July or August?
August.
So let's all the people know.
anything else, Don?
I'm just curious, how did Brandon word that? Did he word it that we're having a vote or we're having a hearing?
We sent out the required notices and will have it posted to our FB site tomorrow. It is scheduled to be on our 8/21 meeting alongside one from New Jasper Township. So this is a text, this is not a formal email that he expected to be quoted.
Okay. Thanks.
Trustee Moyer, any old business for you?
Nope.
I have just one little thing. Our last meeting, we talked about the request from the village for us to review the annexation agreement, or not the annexation agreement, the annexation procedure that they have in place. Don brought up one concern about groundwater infiltration and how that was addressed. And I will let the village manager know that you had that concern. And he responded that that's not in their purview, that's through Greene County Soil and Water? Yeah, Soil and Water. And that will be, nothing can be built without it being reviewed, without a plan being reviewed by soil and water.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what I said, but my concern is the practicality of storm sewer service and sanitary sewer service. And that typically where the surface water runs is an indicator of that. And the surface water runs away from the village towards Jacoby Creek. So there'll be possibly challenges in sanitary sewer in particular.
Well, I'm sure there'd be.
And I would think we would be very concerned about that.
What I'm confused about is what we said to them last time. They wanted us to agree to sign an agreement. And then I think, because we were copied on your communication with Johnny, was that, well, we don't have an agreement in front of us. And he said, I'll send it over. Did he send it over? Okay, so we've done our part then.
And even if we oppose it,
Exactly.
planning commission decides,
Yeah.
or not planning,
County.
county
Well,
commission
We
decides.
wouldn't oppose it, we simply wouldn't enter into an agreement.
Any other old business? Anything from the floor?
I just had a question about your next meeting. Because you have on here, scheduled next meeting for August 18th. What happened to the 4th?
My error.
Oh, okay. I didn't know whether we were going on a summer hiatus.
But we're taking the 4th off, because it's Barack Obama's birthday.
This was, and I, not to make any excuses, just an explanation, this is my first time doing the agenda, and I have 2 agendas in process, and this got picked up in the wrong one. Apologies.
I just
But we didn't have
wanted
the
to
same
make sure I was
questions.
here or not.
Mr. Stockwell, did you have something?
Was that question?
Yeah.
The village does.
Great minds think alike.
Lori
You guys are
mentioned,
psychic.
Lori
Keeping me on my
mentioned to me that the village often takes off one meeting in the summer. I'm not sure we would do that, or if we were even
We have
allowed,
too much to do.
or that we're even allowed to do that. Maybe the village has more rights than we do. I mean, because they have home rule.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're required to have 2.
Probably not a good time to take it.
next meeting
Hearing
is
nothing
August
else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned by acclamation. Thank you, everyone, for coming.